I've even seen GLP-1 in tzedakah campaigns, like it's a raffle you can win.
No way.
Yeah, like a year of Ozempic, and I'm just
Are you
like,
serious?
yeah.
That is so passive aggressive. That is so toxic.
Yeah, they know what people want. Somewhere along the way, we started becoming very afraid of food, so much so that there's like a real anxiety people have before Yom Tov. The way that we talk about food is definitely impacting our kids.
Meet Rachel Tuchman, a therapist who's calling out the way our community talks about food, weight, and health. Yom Tov meals that spark fear instead of joy, kids growing up hearing diet talk at every table. She's exposing how these messages are planting the seeds for anxiety and eating disorders. In this conversation, Rachel breaks down why the quick fixes like Ozempic and other GLP-1s don't heal what's underneath, and why the way we speak about food and bodies matters more than we realize, because our kids are listening and it's shaping the next generation.
If we saw someone with an eating disorder, let's say anorexia, we would be scared for them. Stop, you have to eat. But for someone who, let's say, is at a weight that we think that they need to lose weight, we're like praising those same behaviors, that they're restricting, they're barely eating, they're dropping tons of weight. We're like, yes, you look incredible, amazing. Yeah. We find that there's actually higher suicide rates for people that undergo weight loss surgery. We're addressing the weight loss, but we're not addressing what started this to begin with. And so our kids are hearing that when you're complimenting, oh, how much did you drop? Under 50 pounds? That's crazy, wow. And our kid's like, oh, okay, so that's a good thing to lose weight? That can trigger the eating disorder.
We'll be at this episode in just a second, but put a finger down if you've had a cold for the last 4 weeks and you had to come on here and record ads and an intro for this episode, but your voice sounds like this. I'm putting a finger down. But don't worry, because I gave some tzedakah, Kol Chabad, through the Pushka app, pushka.cc/meaningful, and I'm hoping my cold, me sounding like a zombie, will go away by the time Yom Kippur comes. Thank God. Please, God. Well, go ahead and download the Pushka app right now. Pushka.cc/meaningful. Wait, put your finger back up. Are you also worried about fasting Yom Kippur? Because I am a little bit worried, especially with my current voice and cold situation. Well, don't worry. FastAid is here for you, created by the incredible Kollel of Toronto. They have these incredible pills: caffeine, Tylenol, Advil, electrolytes. You take it before the fast, slow release, and it will take you through the entire fast. You can get it right now at kollel.com. It's in most Shadeka stores and supermarkets and kosher groceries. Can you believe it? And here's the best part. Every purchase of a FastAid pill supports a Kollel. It supports the Kollel of Toronto. How cool is it they own that domain, kollel.com? So you can't find it anywhere else. Go to kollel.com right now. No more nausea, no more fatigue, no more of that, oh my God, I can't even go to shul because I'm so tired. I don't feel well. Make sure that you have FastAid in your back pocket. Take it before the fast and have a meaningful fast. Now here is this episode. I want to start out by, talking about the relationship with food that we in our community have. Obviously, a lot of stuff is centered around food. Yom Tovim, Shabbosim, Simchas. It's a lot. So I guess just a baseline. Do you think that from community, how we interact with food, how we talk about food is like healthy?
So I think that we have run into a problem. I think that it's interesting because so much of our like custom, religion, practice is centered around food. And I always say, like, if you think about it, like in the times of like the Beis Hamikdash, it was like a giant barbecue, right? Like this is everything we do, every holiday, except for like Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av. And by the way, even then, before them, it's a mitzvah to eat. What are you eating at the breakfast, right? We're talking about these things. So food is very much a part of our lives. There's symbolism to it. We believe that it's something that elevates a simcha, that it elevates our Shabbos. So we know that it's very much a part of our lives, and we don't believe in like depriving ourselves, starving ourselves. We're not monks. And I think somewhere along the way, we have become obsessed with stressing about eating, right? And we all know the conversation before Yom Tov is like, oh my God, I'm going to gain so much weight when I don't want to eat. I'm going to be sitting at the table all day. And what are you making? What are you not making? What diet are we going on after? And if you're on social media, there's the detox for after and the detox for before. And don't worry, you can take that, medication or whatever afterwards. So somewhere along the way, we started becoming very afraid of food and very afraid of these times. So much so that it becomes, there's like a real anxiety people have before Yom Tov of like, oh my God, I can't, like 8 days of Pesach, like, and what am I going to eat then? And it's not anything that's on my diet. And again, I'm not even talking about people who have special dietary allergies or that kind of stuff, just in general, regular nobody has any kind of, issue. And it's become, people are afraid. And I think it impacts people's Yom Tovim, and impacts their relationships, and impacts their ability to sit at the table with their family.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's become such a source of stress that it shouldn't be.
What does that do for a child? I mean, what are the effects? I feel like, I don't know how many generations were into this thing, but post-Holocaust, it's like really tough to, I think the whole food thing then was, I remember my grandfather, who was a survivor, by my table collecting challah crumbs. Like nothing was allowed to go into the garbage, which is nice and all, but it also has, that's just one symptom of it. And there's an effect it has on future generations. But like our kids constantly hearing the terms diet and weight loss and scales and this, that's fine? Or is like, no, that will have a negative effect on someone?
So the way that we talk about food is definitely impacting our kids. Meaning, again, if we're talking about Yantif with fear of like, oh my God, what am I going to do? There's so much food and I'm going to gain weight and this is terrible. What do our kids think? Eating is bad. Eating is scary. Yantif is stressful and terrible. Being hungry or eating a lot of food is a terrible thing. Like enjoying is something that we shouldn't be doing. And again, kids are learning from how we talk about food. If we're making it that food is scary and something we don't want to be partaking in, and it's like an as needed basis, and we want to eat the least amount possible, kids who, for sure when they're young, and definitely when they get into like puberty years where they're growing and more hungry, they're going to become afraid of that. Shoot, eating is bad. I know my dad is like not eating anything now, and he's not eating challah, and he doesn't want to, only salad and this and that. And then they start feeling bad about themselves. Wait, I'm hungry. I like challah. Shoot, I eat an extra piece of kollel. Yeah. Am I disgusting? Do I need to go on a diet? So it's definitely planting seeds in our kids' heads about food and diet, that and diet, I mean, as a way of eating, not diet as weight loss, that this is something to be afraid of. And we know that parents are not always the source of problems with food and eating, but they're the primary source for kids to learn about their relationships with their bodies, with food, with all of these things, with the world. They learn about themselves through what their parents say and teach them. So if they're learning early on that Yantif is a time that you need to be stressed out, and sitting at a table is the worst thing on earth, and putting food in your mouth is like horrible and terrible, and all you think about afterwards is how you're going to work that food off and tie your belt tight or go for a 40-minute walk after to compensate for what you ate. This is what they're picking up on, and that's how they go through the world, which is scary because a kid also can't make sense of that. They don't know why they have to do it, but they just know that the adults in their life are doing that. And kids don't need to be distracted with that. Like there's too much in the world anyway. They should be thinking about who they want to play with, how far they get on the monkey bars, what's their score at the last game, and how they want to do better. Like They shouldn't be consumed with these thoughts, So
what is like a good, healthy way of talking about it? Is it just not talking about it at all, or there is like a normal way to do it?
So I think we want to teach our kids about how important eating is, right? For fueling their bodies, for giving them energy, for helping them concentrate in school. And you'll see, like teachers will say they can tell when a kid didn't eat breakfast. They're like tired, sluggish, they can't pay attention, they have no energy. Like they need to be eating. It's important. That's why they build in snack times and lunchtime and like always making sure kids are eating. So definitely talking to your kids about the importance of food. It helps us grow. It helps us concentrate. It helps us, function in this world, but not categorizing it as good or bad, or even, I believe, healthy or unhealthy, right? I believe all food has a time and a place. Some foods are for certain occasions, meaning we don't eat cake every single day, but cake at a birthday party is a wonderful, beautiful thing. And I would say it's the healthy thing because it's happy and it's associated with joy and good things, And there's a time for candy too. Obviously, we don't want kids eating candy every day because, again, nutritionally, it's not even giving them what they need. But there's a time and a place for it. So I say even labeling food as healthy or unhealthy, because kids are such concrete thinkers, they'll think if I'm eating something unhealthy, that must mean that I'm bad and unhealthy. So instead, we just say you can label it fun foods, you can label it sweet foods, you can label it crunchy foods, whatever you want. But I would say stay away from junk food because, again, it's not junk. No food is junk. But I think just how we talk about food in general, just food is food. And I think if we just talk about it as a way that, yes, it's a wonderful, if you want to say it's like a gift from Hashem and we're so lucky we have it and it makes us happy and there's a time and a place, great. But I think as if we make it about body size and about trying to look a certain way, I think that's where the danger comes. So we really need to just talk about it, I think, in a way that it's something we enjoy and it's good for us. And that's it.
So speaking about body size and stuff like that, something that is a trend, or I think maybe better term than trend, but are GLP-1s, is Ozempic, Mounjaro. This is something that has, many years ago, not many years ago, a couple years ago, Hollywood was, everyone in Hollywood's on this, but now it's almost like every frum community has, I don't want to say most, but a lot of people are on GLP-1s, are taking shots to lose weight, lose it fast. And I don't so much so want to get into like, how is it physically for someone? Because I'm sure there's a whole lot of science on, is it good for someone physically? What does it do to them long term? All that stuff. I'm more talking, I guess, the mental effect or impact it has, positive or negative. You tell me. The presence of these shots, of these lose the weight fast options in our circles, what does that do for us?
Right. So it's interesting because I've even seen like GLP-1s like in like tzedakah campaigns, like it's like a raffle you can win.
No way.
Yeah, like a year of Ozempic, and I'm just
like, are you serious?
Yeah, I've
Why
seen
haven't
that
I seen
before.
That
yes,
that's unreal.
You haven't seen that?
That is so passive aggressive. That is so toxic.
Yeah, but you know what? These organizations know. They know what people want. They know people. It's expensive, and you can get a year of shots. Like they'll do it. So they're thinking, how do we get people to buy tickets and support our organization? Let's do what's trending and
at their Chinese auction where they're serving. Yeah.
Especially I find it interesting when it's like organizations, let's say, that are like talking about things related to like health and longevity in the community, and it's like, what are you guys doing? Like, I don't,
So it seems like you're not a fan of this stuff.
I wouldn't say I'm not a fan. I don't judge. There's a time and a place. People who need it. People who want it. I do think though we need to look at the effects of that. Suddenly, like there's nobody in a bigger body in our community anymore. Like what happens? And I think that that's scary because eventually I think what will happen is just like any other weight loss medication that we've ever, had come onto the market. Somewhere down the line, we're going to hear that these are probably not healthy and they can't be used in the way that they're being used right now, meaning not for people with, without diabetes or actual health concerns. So I feel like this is probably not going to last so long. And then what, right? So then people who are on it will probably gain that weight back. And then what does that do for the people who were living in that smaller body where they felt good about themselves? Maybe they were getting all the dates. Maybe they got married. Maybe all their problems felt like they were solved because they were in this smaller body, and then suddenly they're not anymore. But then I also wonder for the kids who cannot be on it yet. They say, why does nobody look like me? Like, why does everyone want to be smaller? Is there something wrong with how I look? Like I used to look like my dad, but now I don't anymore. Is that a bad thing? And I think that what we need to do is we need to teach kids bodies come in all different shapes and sizes. And like, it's a good thing. Just like there's different shoe sizes and different heights and different hair colors and, different eye colors. There's also different body shapes and one's not better than the other. And I think like the mentality has always been that when we see a person in a bigger body, there's a thin person trapped inside that's just waiting to come out. And there's this concept of body diversity. Like I said, height, eye color, hair color, body shape too, So I think that's where I worry that like kids growing up, and especially like adolescents, young teenage boys and girls, it affects boys too, that they're suddenly seeing only one body type. And so they're going to be doing extreme things to try to fit into that. And it's also teaching them a message of like, well, if I don't look like that body type that I'm seeing now everywhere, what's wrong with me? And that's scary, like the effect that it will have on mental health. Again, we don't know yet because it's so new.
Right, yeah.
But I'm worried about it. I'm worried.
Yeah, I mean, that is, forget the kids for a second because it obviously, that's where it's going to head and kids have these questions. But even for the adults themselves, the concept of like them not having to really change much of their habits or lifestyle, but be able to do something and have a result, like that can't be like good. That can't be good for us.
So I know from like research that they've done for people who have like weight loss surgery, a lot of the effects afterwards are, we find that there's actually higher suicide rates for people that undergo weight loss surgery. And very often the reason is, number one, they don't screen very well for them in terms of mental health. So they're not looking at like, what's happening that like you are in this current situation. You know, sometimes people who are at weights like that they need weight loss surgery, there's something mentally going on for them. There's distress, there's anxiety, there's depression, there is a reason, right? Or there's an eating disorder that's not diagnosed that we're not addressing. So we're addressing the weight loss, but we're not addressing like what started this to begin with. And so very often they'll lose the weight and they're like, okay, my life's going to be amazing now. But then they realize like, no, all my trauma is still there. Or, you know, my wife still hates me, or my kids don't talk to me, or I still have no friends, or I'm still miserable and unhappy, or I still have crazy body dysmorphia. And then sometimes they'll turn to alcohol or drugs instead, right? Because food is not the vice anymore because they can't eat because of the surgery. So they'll start using substances or other self-destructive behaviors.
Like
yeah. And then it turns into depression and suicidality, and also health complications come up very often from these surgeries. And so their life is impacted in a negative way. And they're like, wait, my life is never going to get better. And so then increases that depression and the suicidality. And so again, like these are quick fixes. Like you were saying, it's like, great, the weight comes off, but like, are we really addressing your lifestyle choices, your health? And again, when I say health, I don't even think about like salad and exercise. I think about like the people that you surround yourself with, your connection to your community, your connection to, if you're religious, do you like being a frum Jew? Do you like your rabbi? What was your childhood like in school? Did your Rebbe slap you in the face and you feel so angry about it still? Or did you heal that? Are you connected to your religion? And are you living the way you want to? And are you sending your kids to a school that matches your hashkafa? And do you feel like you're being like a true, and again, doesn't mean you're a perfect, halachically observant, completely all the way, you never do anything wrong kind of Jew, but meaning, are you doing your best? And do you feel proud of who you are? This is health, you know? Are you happy in your relationships? What's your relationship like with your family? And if it's not good, are you taking care of yourself? I think health is so multifaceted, and I feel like it stinks that we really boiled it down to like, what do you weigh and what do you eat?
Right.
Those are two like tiny factors. And again, with GLP, you're not eating very much and you're not weighing very much. But again, we still have people who are so unhappy. So what are we doing? You know,
maybe it's not about the weight.
It's probably not about the weight. You know, again, sometimes that's one piece of it, one tiny piece of it. But when that goes away, then yes, very often people look and they're like, well, I'm still not married, or I'm still unhappy, or I'm still, you know. And so that's why I say like, we really need to be looking at like, what are you trying to heal when you're saying I need to drop 50 pounds, you know? And I don't know if that can be healed by weight loss necessarily, you know?
Right. How do we stay like, you know, there is this movement, I feel like in the world about body positivity, and, you know, which some people on political right might call just you're promoting unhealthy behavior, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Yes.
So where do you draw the line between like, okay, their bodies come in all shapes and sizes and that's good, versus like, yeah, but that's not healthy behavior. And
right. So the body positivity movement, all that is about is just like, people deserve to feel comfortable in their skin. That's all it was. It wasn't like everybody should eat whatever they want and everybody should be fat. Like, we're not saying that. And also it was interesting when people would say that to me, because I do talk a lot about that. When I would talk about people deserving to just feel comfortable in their skin, people would say like, well, why are you promoting like obesity? And I would say like, do you think anyone is looking at someone in a bigger body, let's say, and saying like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to gain 150 pounds. No one's saying that, you know? But we're saying that everyone deserves to just feel comfortable in their skin. I happen to believe more in just body neutrality. You don't need to like love yourself and feel fabulous and like walk around and think you're the, you know, the toast, the it, whatever. But I do think that you just deserve to just not have to think about your body at all, not have to worry about it, not worry if clothes are going to fit you, not worry that doctors are going to be mean to you because you look a certain way, not worry that you're not going to get set up on dates because you are a certain weight, not worry that, you know, people are going to treat you differently. You won't get the job. We know that people that are in bigger bodies are actually hired less than people in smaller bodies.
Actually?
Yeah, they have statistics on that. I mean, it's also like for good looking people also, they're more likely to get hired even if they're not as qualified. We live in a very visual culture. We live in a culture that's obsessed with beauty, and we think, or thinness also, and we think that that makes you a better person. Like, you must be smart because you're skinny, when it's like, you might be a total doofus. And, and the guy that's bigger is like amazing and could bring your company to God knows what, But I think people are just more biased to that because we've been taught that when you look a certain way, we give attributes to that. So you must be smarter. You must be more savvy. You must be, kinder. You must be. So we have a bias in that way. So I think that when body positivity is a wonderful thing, but again, I kind of advocate for just body neutrality. You don't have to feel good about your body, but we don't want you to feel bad about it, because if you do feel bad about it, you're less likely to get out of bed, take a walk, go out and socialize, right? We know that being social is a huge piece of people's health, right? People who are social and go out in the community live longer. We know people that are part of communities have a longer lifespan. There's actually a Harvard study. I think it's like 100 years old. Harvard, whatever. We don't really like them so much anymore, but the study itself is actually fascinating. I think it's about 100 years that they were following hundreds of people, and then it expanded to thousands of people because they originally had this like group of people they were following for about like 75, 80 years. And then they started following like their kids, and they wanted to see like, what is the secret to longevity? How do people live longer, right? What's the secret sauce? And they found that it wasn't about diet, exercise, whether you smoke or drink, which again, these are all things that we should be eating in a way that is good for our bodies. We should exercise. We shouldn't smoke or drink. But they found that it was actually the quality of people's relationships that determines how happy and how long they lived. And we know there's research that people who are married live longer, men especially. Again, even if you're not married, you can still have a long, beautiful life. But they found that men had like a marked increase in how long they lived when they were married, more so than women. Which makes sense because your wife is like, go to the doctor, did you get to the gym, get to sleep, right? She's more gonna she's kind of taking care of things and she's on top of things. And men are more likely to care about themselves when they have a partner or children. So we know that really the marker of like what helps people to be healthy and live longer is social connections. So I think that we're like forgetting that. And something that worries me about the GLP stuff and just weight loss and dieting in general is that what happens when you're not eating? You don't want to go anywhere. We're going out to dinner for whoever's birthday. Do you want to come? I can't. I'm on a diet, or like I can't eat anything, or like I'm not going to be. I can't drink. I can't. So people don't want to go out anymore, and so we're reducing social connectedness.
72 years ago, Lubavitch Rebbe launched the first ever daily tzedakah fund called Keren Hashana. One donation today covers the entire year, right? There's 354 days in this coming year. You have one donation today, and Keren Hashana distributes twice a day before Shacharis, before Mincha, to the organizations in need. And that ensures that you are never missing a day of giving tzedakah. Your donation helps support shluchim and their activities around the world, single-parent homes, Hachnasas Kala, plus many more extremely important funds. And like the Rebbe said, by joining this fund, you share in all the holy work that these organizations are doing and accomplishing. Millions of dollars have already been distributed, and now it's your turn to get involved in this schus. Head to mykarenhashana.com. That is mykarenhashana.com, and get involved today. You give tzedakah, and every single day, twice a day, tzedakah is be giving on your behalf around the world to many different places. You share in that schus. mykarenhashana.com. You can hit the link in the show notes below to get involved. You have an opportunity right now to buy burial plots on two of the most exclusive and holy places in the world, Har HaZeisim and Har HaMenuches. And that is what Shar is making possible. That is SHAAR.com. Right now, over 275 have been sold. 300 are in contract, and you can be one of them. Har HaMenuches, Har HaZeisim, two of the holiest sites in the world. Right now, you can get introductory pre-sale pricing by mentioning meaningful people. You don't just get a plot when you buy through Shar, you get a plan. One phone call is all you have to make when that time comes, and everything gets set into motion. No extra negotiations, no trying to figure out logistics. Shar takes care of everything. It's something to think about. Now, again, once you do it, you don't got to do it again. So go ahead, email them right now at sales@shar.com. That is sales@shar.com. Mention meaningful people for some pre-sale introductory pricing, maybe a schus for arichas yamim.
I imagine there's gonna be unfortunately a lot of really messed up kids that are exposed to their parents saying, "Oh, we can't go out to eat. Abba took the Ozempic shot," or "Oh, I can't eat. I'm on Ozempic," and this and that. It's just like that's a really crazy thing, probably for a kid's mind to digest.
I think it's just confusing to watch somebody willingly, like again, if we saw someone with an eating disorder, let's say anorexia nervosa, right, where they're severely restricting their food and there's health consequences to that, and we're scared. And let's say there's someone who's very underweight because of the anorexia, right, that we're looking at them and we're like, oh my God, this is terrible. We would be scared for them. Stop, you have to eat. But for someone who, let's say, is at a weight that we think that they need to lose weight, we're like praising those same behaviors, that they're restricting, they're barely eating, they're dropping tons of weight. We're like, yes, you look incredible, amazing. Yeah. And so our kids are hearing that when you're complimenting, oh, how much did you drop? Under 50 pounds? That's crazy. Wow. And our kids like, oh, okay, so that's a good thing to lose weight. So, and again, I find this a lot in my work, that very often if kids want to be good at something, they want to be seen, they want to be recognized, that can trigger the eating disorder, right? That can trigger that dysfunctional relationship with food. Well, if I'm not good at anything because I feel like a failure in my life, maybe not because of anything that is going on in my home necessarily, but maybe I just have my own anxiety and stress. I stink at everything. I have no friends. Maybe I can be really good at weight loss. So let me do that. Let me starve myself. It's going to start out with like, Mom, I'm vegan. And then it's going to start out with like, I just want to be like healthy. Like I'm going to the gym. And then it's going to be like, I think I'm celiac. I think I'm gluten-free now. Right. And so parents might be like, oh, yeah, gluten-free. Yeah, I heard gluten's bad for you. Oh, he's vegan. Wow, he really cares about the animals. So we kind of like start ignoring that. But these might actually be signs of like something going on here with your kid. So we just have to be careful complimenting weight loss. I say, just don't do it. Even if we're like, but he worked so hard. And, but I know her whole life she struggled. So just say like, hey, so good to see you. Love your hair. That shirt is great on you. Like, let's just say anything other than like body compliments, because kids, which is probably the
number one compliment people get.
Always. And what I always find interesting is like, sometimes people will be like, did you lose weight? When the person clearly did not, and it's like, why are you saying that? We could find any other conversation. Just be like, hey, what's up? Did you get a tan? Like, say that. Why did you lose weight? I once had a friend who was like, I actually gained 15 pounds. Like, why are you saying that?
I once gained some weight, and like someone came, he's like, you look different. You lose weight? I'm like,
opposite.
Nope.
Other way. But I find that people will do that just as a conversation piece. Like, you lost weight, right? And it's like, why does that have to be? Just say anything else. Haven't seen you in a while. What'd you do this summer? How are the kids? How is work? There's so much more to talk about, but I feel like that's like our default. And I find that I don't want my friends who are watching this to be like, oh, we can't talk about this anymore. But every Shabbos table, every Yom Tov table, every conversation is like always going back to weight and food. And doctor said I got to lose weight. Oh man, the bar mitzvah's coming back.
Diet starts tomorrow.
Yeah, diet starts tomorrow. I got to lose weight. The bar mitzvah's coming up. Oh, did you see her? She lost so much weight for the wedding. Oh, the wedding is coming, guys. When are we starting the diet? Family diet, fit into the dresses.
Is this like a Jewish problem? Like, is this something that plagues the Jewish community more than society at large?
So it's interesting that there's not a lot of research, but what research does exist.
We have research on everything. We don't have research on this. You see, like, the USAID, like they're doing research on India stuff.
So the Jewish community is hard. It's hard to collect research because A, we don't really want to talk. B, we're not so much aware, right? It's like people don't know. And C, stigma. I don't want to talk about an eating disorder. Like people are going to think we're messed up. I don't want to talk about it in our community. People are going to think our communities like they want to stay away from it. So no one really wants to talk about it. So it's hard to collect data in the Jewish community. But what we do know is that it seems like from the little bit of data that we do have that there's actually, so if like in the general population, disordered eating, let's say, which is not an eating disorder per se, but it's a bad relationship with food and bodies, is double the national average. So it's like 1 in 6 in the general population, and in the Jewish population, it's 1 in 3.
Wow. And you consider what we're discussing, GLP-1, stuff like that, like you consider that a disordered eating? I
mean,
Unless it's like someone's
depends.
A diabetic or
right. I mean, it depends. I would say that disordered eating is very much involved in GLP because you're starving and you're not eating, and certain foods like you stay away from, and it probably fosters a disordered eating relationship. But I wouldn't like diagnose in that way. But I would just say that probably someone who has a poor relationship with food in their body is going to go on a GLP-1 because they're like the food noise. I can't, like, it doesn't stop. I can't stop thinking about it. It's all day long. And again, valid. Like, I'm not going to say that's not true. And I'm not going to say don't go on a GLP because of food noise. Again, I'm not here to say any of that. If anyone wants to go on it, please. Like, I don't want, I remember.
Just don't talk about it.
Yeah. No, you can. You could talk about it, but I would say maybe don't talk about it in front of your kids. They don't need to know. And again, even if they notice,
even for friends though, like imagine like you're in a group of friends and everyone looks different and you're talking about it. It's just like, I don't know. I agree with what you said. Just like, don't talk about weight.
Don't talk about it. And again, if your kids notice like, oh, daddy, you look different, just say, you know what? I'm just trying to take care of my health. You don't have to be like, well, I'm injecting myself weekly with this GLP-1. Do you know what that is? Kids don't need to know. And I know sometimes people are like, well, is that lying to them? And I say, no, it's protecting them. You don't need to talk about your body with your kids. You don't need to talk about your weight loss and your health. Again, unless it's directly affecting them, meaning if there's a terminal illness, please tell your children. But if you're on a GLP-1, they don't need to know.
So what do we do about, because now you can't really open up a Jewish magazine without being hit with at least 3 full page ads about skinny shots, Ozempic, Mounjaro, all that stuff. We at Meaningful Minute, we took the position to not take those ads. Like I don't think it just didn't feel right. So we don't take those ads, but you open up these publications and they're there and kids can get their hands on this and they see it. So it's really seeped into our world in a seemingly permanent way. It's not like, a fly by night. Like people are making money off of this, which is great, but it's in our publications. I can't imagine you're a fan of that being mainstreamed in that way.
I mean, it definitely worries me because, again, I think that there are vulnerable people out there who maybe shouldn't be on it. And again, kids who are seeing this, that it worries me. I also do believe that everybody has the right to decide if they want to go on it or not. But yes, I do think we need to look at, from the community standpoint, like there's a problem, that people who, let's say, only want to lose about 10 pounds are like going on this, and we don't know the long-term effects. And again, I wonder what it says to, I'm not even kids. Yes, it's important, but I'm also thinking about adults, like what is it doing to us to constantly be chasing, obsessing, putting things in our body that
also, like, what are you really chasing? Like, what are they chasing? If they're trying to lose the weight because they're trying to get validation and friendship, like, you're not chasing losing weight, you're chasing something else that you're not necessarily going to achieve through losing the weight. Right.
I always say, like, the need to lose weight, the desire to lose weight, there's usually something deeper underneath. There's some emotional something underneath. And I know, I've seen also where, let's say someone will say that their spouse is complaining, their partner is complaining, like, oh, I want you to lose weight. And again, I understand that's very painful to hear if a partner is saying that to their wife or their husband, like, I want you to lose weight, I'm not attracted to you. It's usually not about that. Again, there's something deeper going on. There's a disrespect, there's a disconnect, there's something missing there that weight loss is not going to help. But I know that very often people think, well, if I lose weight, then she'll be interested in me again, or he'll love me again. And that doesn't always happen. I think about, they just had this documentary on Netflix about the show The Biggest Loser. Do you remember this show?
Yeah, I brought it up in my interview with Eric Adams.
So it was this show, really?
Yeah.
So The Biggest Loser was this show where people who were at really high weights went on the show. And
at 500, 600 pounds.
Really big. Bad. And we were all cheering for them, like, yay, starve yourself, work out for 8 hours a day, throw up, have a heart attack, but lose weight on camera. Right. And like have your trainer abuse you and like be disgusting to you and eat like 400 calories a day, like literally less than they ate in the Holocaust. And like, yay, but you're skinny. Like this was the show, right? So we all watched it and we thought it was fantastic TV. But so this documentary is talking about like how damaging and traumatic it was to these people mentally, physically, whatever it is. And one of the women on the show, spoiler here, if you watch it, don't watch it. But one of the women on the show was saying that she went to the Biggest Loser campus to try to lose weight. And she said part of why she wanted to go was her marriage was falling apart. She was in this bigger body. Her husband was just like perpetually like not loyal to her. Disinterested, not around. And she thought, well, if I go and I like lose weight and I like take care of myself, like he'll stop doing what he's doing and like I'll fix our marriage. And she ended up losing weight and she went back home. And she says in this documentary, like her marriage fell apart and she realized it wasn't about her. It was that the marriage was really doomed from the beginning. And very often we'll see this, that people realize like once they lose weight, like the problems were always there. Or sometimes I even see the opposite, that someone's in a bigger body and then their life is like, it seems fine or whatever it is. And then they lose weight and like all of a sudden they start like acting out. They up and leave their family or they're, drinking suddenly or doing all kinds of crazy things that were like, whoa, like what happened to you? So it's not always the answer. And again, I'm not against anyone trying to lose weight, but I do say, like, please just think about, like, what do you think that's going to bring you? And is it possible to get those things without doing something so drastic? And could it be that you just, maybe get yourself to therapy and maybe, go to the gym or go outside and walk, or maybe you meet with a dietitian and address your relationship with food. But I think that we live in a time, certainly now with social media, where it's like quick fix. I just want now. And nobody has the patience to wait for anything. Even in my practice, like as a therapist, like people will sometimes call me up and, they want help and they're like, well, how long until I feel better? Like how many sessions do you think? Like, and then like all my problems will be solved. And I'm like, I wish it was that easy. Like, I wish I could just tell you, 3 sessions, like it's all good with your mother-in-law. Like, but that's not how it works, Yeah. But people just want to like feel better immediately. And there's a lot of promises online about that. And there's a lot of promises with GLP-1 about that. Like all the ads are like this stunning, like beautiful person and like the wind flowing through their hair and this happy couple holding hands. And you're like, oh, that's going to be me. But it's not necessarily. So I think that's something like we need to really be addressing. Again, you want to lose weight with the GLP-1, fine. But I do encourage people to think about like what else is going on that might be the root of the problem. And thinking about the effects that, if you have little people watching, how are you going to explain that to them? And then would you want them to do the same or feel the same or go through life that way?
Do you find, and I guess closing the parenthesis a little bit on the food stuff, in general in your practice, as being a therapist, what is, I guess, the biggest uptick or people coming to you? Like, what's the reason people are starting therapy in 2025?
So I know you'll be shocked when I say this, anxiety. People are riddled with anxiety.
Define that though. Everyone hears the word anxiety.
Yeah.
And I find that my wife brought this up the other day. She's like, it's not fair because sometimes we had a shotgun here today and she said, sometimes there's things that need to be spoken about. The person could have anxiety or depression or bipolar disorder. I'm like, I feel like it's not fair to mention anxiety with bipolar disorder. And, it's like,
right.
Everyone has some anxiety.
Right.
I feel like it's like a,
so there's like listen, we all have anxiety, meaning anxiety is actually something good that we have, right? So if I have anxiety in a healthy way, so if I have a test coming up, my anxiety is going to make me study, right? If I have anxiety about like, I don't want to, get hit by a car, I'm going to look and, right? So anxiety can be helpful. When I say anxiety as a problem, I mean that it's not just about, I have a test or I have a game coming up, so I got to practice. Anxiety about things that I don't really have any cause to be worried about. So I'm scared the Holocaust is coming again. And again, we could argue maybe people do have cause to think that, but we don't necessarily have, the world is scary right now and there's a lot of anti-Semitism, but there are people that literally are like storing money away under their mattresses and like renewing passports and acting like there's going to be, another Holocaust. And so things like that, or just, again, even I'm scared that every minute of the day that like somebody's going to die, meaning not just it's in the back of my head and I could ignore it, but I'm scared that my kids are dead every minute of the day. So I have to obsessively check on them.
You see a lot of that? Like
things like, extreme anxiety about that kind of stuff. Yeah. And sometimes it turns into obsessing about things. And again, sometimes when we can't control our anxiety, then we say, okay, so I can control what I eat. I can control my body. I can control, other things, the cleanliness of my house. I can control what my kids do. I can control my partner.
To manifest in different ways.
Yeah. So anxiety as a problem, it's how much is it impacting your daily functioning? That's when we say anxiety that you come to a therapist, not just like, I get nervous here and there, but I could ignore it. Or like, sometimes I like think about things that scare me, but like for overall, I can function. It's fine. I know it's crazy and it doesn't bother me. I'm talking about people that really can't function because it's front and center in their lives, and it's impacting their daily living, their relationships, their parenting, their marriages, whatever it is, their ability to function at work, their ability to get to work. I can't get on the train because I'm scared there's going to be a bomb on the train, or I'm scared that, something's going to happen to me.
Right.
So things like that. But I think that anxiety is really, it's prevalent now. I think that definitely a part of it is being plugged in all the time, right? That we just have this device in our hands that's always pinging, dinging, bad news, rocket alarms, from Israel. The next, some guy got beat up in a shul and wherever. And like, this is, first of all, it's in our DNA to be anxious anyway, as Jews, right? We're always scared, like, who's the next, like, what country are we getting kicked out of next, right? Like, it's our inherited trauma. That's why we all have bad stomachs and all that, right?
Oh, is that why?
That's what they say,
Interesting.
that we have, the Jewish stomach, it's a thing, right? That
Yeah,
we
but I
have,
thought it was just Ashkenazi Jews.
Ashkenazim, but doesn't that make sense? Europe, right?
Yeah.
Definitely Sephardim, I think, have stronger stomachs, but yeah.
I just find it interesting that like the word anxiety, 20 years ago was not a thing. Like
no one spoke about it.
But it was there, but no one
Yeah.
spoke about it. No one spoke about it. And
you know what it used to be called, at least for kids? ADHD. Every kid was diagnosed as ADHD because he can't sit still. And in kids, anxiety looks a lot like ADHD. They can't focus. They can't sit still. They're all over the place. It looks like they're like getting up, getting down, getting up. But if you think about it, when you're anxious, you pace, you're nervous, your thoughts are running, so kids were misdiagnosed very often. Still to this day, I still will, encounter some kids that it's like, oh, the teacher says he has ADHD or she has ADHD, and it turns out it's really anxiety.
how do you like? What's the process in diagnosing someone with anxiety? Like, it's not like, oh, there we see it on the graph. Like, what makes you diagnose someone with such a thing?
So it's through talking to people, like, tell me just about like your daily life, like what's going on, like how do you sleep at night? What are some things that you like to do? What do you think about? How are things at home? What's going on at home? Certainly with a kid, definitely, like, if there's stress or tension at home with a sibling or even with the parents, if the parents' relationship isn't so great, if finances are rough, and even if parents think their kids don't know, I always tell parents, like, your kids know. They know, like, you really can't hide anything. And even if you think like, oh, but we had the conversation in the basement when they were sleeping, kids hear, they see, they know. I find all the time, I'll say to my kids, like, how did you know that? Like, and they're like, hello, like, you're a therapist. Do you know that we hear everything, Yeah. So definitely, like, kids are listening and hearing. So yes, knowing what's going on in the home, how are they functioning in the classroom? Do they have friends? Like, we just look at those things. We try to figure out their daily functioning, and their thought process. And very often what I find is like, the sign to me is usually kids have trouble sleeping. So it'll be like, there's a branch tapping the window every night outside my window, but I feel like it's a robber coming in the house and they're going to kill me. Or, I'm scared that when my parents go out for the school dinner, I'm scared, like, I hear Hatzalah and I think they died. These are like the most common things. Yeah. And kids, they think about this stuff, I'm scared I'm going to get sick. Every day I'm scared I'm going to get sick, or I'm scared when I am sick, I'm going to be in the hospital and then I'm going to die. So, and sometimes this comes from they saw a grandparent who was sick and died suddenly, or maybe they know someone, or again, just living in this world.
So who doesn't have anxiety? Like,
that's what I'm saying. It's really,
so everyone,
it's really getting out of control. I mean, listen, again, there are people that have anxiety that's intense, but they manage it, like how you're looking at it right here. Like, I manage it. And it's kind of background noise in my head now. But like, it's there, And so some people you would never know. You're like, oh, but you're so chill, or you have it together. And so you really don't know. And that's why I say also, people, you can't look at someone and you're like, oh, you have anxiety.
Right.
It's usually the people that are like chill, easygoing, nothing bothers them. Those are actually the people that are probably the most anxious, because they have to come off that way, because I want you to like me. I don't want to upset you. I want everyone to be happy. So I'm just going to be like, yeah, I'm chill. It's good. I'm easygoing. Meanwhile, I'm not easygoing. I'm uptight. I'm crazy. Everything bothers me. I obsess about everything. Right. So that's what might be happening. But I think anxiety is the most common thing that I'm seeing. Again, anxiety that's really tough for people to manage and that's getting in the way of their functioning. But also just, again, relationships, and I think that people are having a hard time learning to connect with people. They're having a hard time managing their relationships. I think definitely we're seeing more of it because people, for sure, like post-COVID, when we were, locked in our houses for 2 years. And then when we were not locked in our houses, we had masks on, and then we had plastic separating us. So definitely I see social issues with kids for sure, who lost time socializing. But even adults, like, we forgot how to socialize. We forgot how to like be out in public with people. We were always on devices. I heard a therapist once saying, she's a famous therapist, Esther Perel. She said, like, you can have 50,000 friends on social media, but you have nobody to babysit your cat. We have all these artificial connections, but no real meaningful connections. And I think that contributes to anxiety. I do think that the Jewish community, we have a lot of like protective factors in that we have shul every week. We have Yom Tov. So we have so much opportunity. And because we're very community based, we do have a lot of opportunity to socialize, and Shabbos, right? Thank God that we have to be off a device, and then we have to sit at a table with family, and we have to connect with people. But we're still seeing a lot of that disconnect from people and isolation and loneliness, and that contributes to anxiety, you know?
There's no better ad in an episode like this. We're talking about food, Ozempic, and whatnot, than my friends at Sprinkles. Yes, that incredible ice cream cake. You're all about to be sitting around the sukkah with your friends. You're a spiesen. And guess what? Memories are made with the food you're surrounded by. Not telling your kids you're on a diet. Not telling your kids not to eat that. Hey, Yankel, try this ice cream cake from Sprinkles. I had it last night with my kids. Here's some pictures and videos. This stuff is actually the real deal. And there's so much variety. You can get this in any kosher supermarket right now. Here's the thing. If you don't see it in that supermarket, you head to the front and you say, where is Sprinkles? I demand Sprinkles. Get it right now. Get it for your family. This is where memories are made around that table at early morning in the sukkah. Your kid is up at 5:45 and there's no more leaven in the house and you want some Sprinkles ice cream cake. Get your hands in it right now and create memories today. This episode is also sponsored by my friends at Lalechet. You know, I'm hearing a lot about Lalechet now because people are choosing Lalechet charter flights to get to Israel, to get to Uman, to get the places they need to go. So maybe it's time that you jump on the bandwagon. Head to lalechet.com right now, whether you're planning a trip for your entire shul, your family, or just for yourself. Lalechet.com is the place for you to go A to Z. You want to go to Beijing, you want to go to Morocco, you want to go to Israel, you want to go to Uman, wherever it is, Lalechet has you covered. Maybe you want to take your entire family to Israel for Thanksgiving, for Hanukkah, right? The sukkah's boat kind of, left already, but it's not too late to book that next trip. Head to lalechet.com right now. That is lalechet.com. Book your trip today.
I can't imagine what it would be like without Shabbos. Just how 24/7 I am during the week. Like, I can't imagine not having that one day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the world lives.
Yeah. So Jonathan Haidt, he wrote that book, The Anxious Generation. He's big in the news now because he's the one that's actually pushing a lot of like getting cell phones out of high schools. So he's not Jewish. He's a psychologist at NYU, and he says like he admires the Jewish community for Shabbos. He says like it's unbelievable that like for that 24 hours, parents, kids, everybody has to get off a device.
Yeah.
They disconnect, but they connect, And I think Shabbos is really like a lifesaver that if we didn't have it, imagine you didn't have to be off your device.
I wouldn't be.
It's impossible to get it out of your hands, right? We're always working. We're always doing. I'm guilty of it. It's really hard. And that's why like, I always say like, even if like, God willing, one day I make Aliyah, like I think I might want to like still keep 2 days, right? Because like then I'm off a device. It's so good for us to have that time where we're disconnected because we live in a time where we're so connected all the time and we're so disconnected.
Yeah.
We're so overstimulated and we're so numb. We're so informed and we're so like overwhelmed and clueless and like we don't know what's going on in the world. So it's like we need to have that time where like we're just with people face to face in the same room, touch grass, like we're outside, we're walking to shul, we're seeing people. Even if you don't go to shul, I have company over or, I'm sitting outside and I'm getting fresh air and I'm in the world,
Yeah. Something I'm really proud of that we did recently, not recently, I mean, unfortunately what happened to Charlie Kirk was awful, tragic. Afterwards, someone on my team identified a video of him talking about Shabbos and we cut it and made it into a little bit of a video. And we posted on Instagram and TikTok, and it has 6.5 million views on each platform.
Wow.
And it led to like, again, 13 million people saw it. And we saw a lot of people react to the video who were Jewish, not keeping Shabbos, start keeping Shabbos. And even people who are not Jewish take on this idea of just shutting down for
like
24
a digital
hours. Yeah,
Sabbath.
Like, we're not like, advising people who aren't Jewish to keep Shabbos, but like
but a digital
just disconnect.
Sabbath.
Yeah, disconnect from the phone especially.
Yeah.
It's like very healthy.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you back on the anxiety thing for a second. At what point, for those listening, this might be a question they have. At what point do they know, okay, now I have to go to a therapist because this is where I'm at with the anxiety, like self-X, like what is that place versus it's regular,
So I say when it's impacting your life to the point where you feel like you cannot manage it anymore.
Isn't that too late though?
Not necessarily, because again, it depends like where you cannot manage it anymore. It could look terrible, or it could just be like, I can't stop thinking about this and it keeps me up at night and I'm not sleeping well and it's affecting my appetite. Not necessarily like, I'm crying every day. That's already a pretty bad point. But if you're having sleep disturbances and again, you notice during the day, like, I can't control my thoughts. Like I just can't. It's nonstop and it's upsetting me. And even talking to my friends or talking to my partner or talking to, my mom, or it's not helping me. That's where I say like, then maybe a professional, and even thinking about psychiatric medication. If therapy, I say try therapy first. And then sometimes, you'll tack on medication if needed, but like go and talk to a therapist and say, here's what's going on with me. Like, I can't seem to get it under control. I think most people will have a sense of when it's really a problem. For some people, they live that way their whole lives. So they're like, well, oh, this isn't normal, But that's why I think also if you have a friend or a loved one that you feel like they're so stressed out, like you can say in a loving way, like, I'm nervous, I'm worried about you. You're obsessing about this all the time, or you're always worrying about it, or you repeat the same question 8 million times to me. You asked me that already, or you said that already. Maybe you should think about talking to someone. Right. And again, in a sensitive way, not in like, oh, what's wrong with you? See a therapist, right? Like we want to be sensitive. Then I think you can do that too. So if you see someone that you're worried about them, suggest it, But I would say, yes, if it's to a point where you feel like I just can't do this. I'm trying everything. I'm doing the yoga. I'm going outside and getting fresh air. But it's not working. I would say then reach out to a therapist and see if talking and maybe, like I said, somewhere along the way, medication is what you need.
That alone could be a very daunting task for someone to do.
Yes.
Is there anything that you can say that can pop that scary balloon in their head about that process
of reaching out to a therapist?
All they know about therapy and therapists is what they see probably on Netflix or what they read in Family First Mishpacha
right.
about the therapist who went rogue and told all the secrets to which is serial probably. It's not
Yeah.
And I love Mishpacha. I'm just saying, I just made that up. It could have been anything,
right?
But
any magazine.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like there's this.
There is a stigma for sure. I do find, here's like the plus of social media. If you're on social media, I think that following a therapist on social media is a great way to like get rid of that stigma and that fear of like, oh, okay, I like what that person posts. I like what they say. It resonates with me. They don't seem so scary. She seems pretty like easygoing. I like their approach to things. I think social media is a good piece. Definitely in publication. So if you read a local paper or a mishpacha magazine or whatever, and you like their writing, reaching out to them that way. I say email is like a great way to make first contact. And you can even say like, I'm so nervous, like I've never done this before, but I'm thinking about starting therapy. And I think like you would be surprised, like we're not scary therapists, like we won't bite your head off, like we're happy to help, and if we're available, obviously, and have openings. But I think just maybe taking a little bit of the fear away through, like I said, through reading materials that they put out there. And thankfully in the Jewish community, we really do have so much now. It used to be back in the day. I say this all the time. It used to be back in the day, might even be like, I'm older than you, but even when you were a kid, like the only people who saw a therapist were like the bad kids. Like the kids who couldn't behave in class, The kids
who like the nurse would come to the door and be like, I need to see Rachmiel.
Rachmiel, like, Yankee, again, the therapist, right? We were like, oh God, like it was for the problem kid. And I find it's shifted so much that I'll have like, when I worked a lot with like high school kids, it would be like, they would be trading therapist names at lunch. And if you didn't have a therapist, they were like, oh my God, like
what circles
I feel
are
so
these?
bad.
I'm just curious.
Right? More modern Orthodox for sure. But I find that even in more like yeshivish circles, it's changing. That
are you seeing more resistance though in the modern Orthodox versus the yeshivish communities in terms of the advances in this area? Like, is there more resistance?
Openness?
Is there more resistance? Yeah. Is there more of a stigma in the yeshivish homes?
So yeshivish people are definitely in therapy. Maybe they're not as open about it. They're definitely, and Hasidish, they love therapy. They're in it. They may not be talking about it so much. I find in the modern Orthodox world, it's literally like a normal part of your conversation. Oh, my therapist said, I have therapy, so I could come afterwards, Oh, who's your therapist? And again, like I said, I feel like a lot of teenagers feel bad when they find out that their friend doesn't have a therapist. They're like, oh my God, I have therapy. It's really like part of their conversation, which I think is so beautiful. I remember years ago, I had a client, like a young kid. She was my client. And whenever I would like be around her school, she would like run up to me and hug me and be like, this is my therapist. And again, it was credit to her mom, who was like, there is no shame. Like, we're so happy. Like, therapy is a good thing in our house. But I remember even her friends were like, oh, you're there. Like, they were so excited. Like, oh, my therapist doesn't come to the school. So it's definitely different in some circles. Again, I think it's how we talk about it. I wish we just made it more normal to go to therapy. Like, why is it not normal to get help and it's normal to like be dysfunctional? Why are we
can I
like,
answer that for you?
you know?
You
Yeah,
ready for the
tell
answer?
me.
What do you think I want to say?
I don't know.
What do you think I want to say? Shidduchim.
Yes. But again,
It's a good answer.
shidduchim, yes. But again, I wonder, why aren't we at the point where it's like when we hear someone's in therapy that we're like, okay, good, thank God. Why is
Yeah,
it
but
like,
unfortunately, it's just like you're responding with common sense
right, and
to
it's not so
something
common.
that is the whole. Like, there's a lot of questions on this stuff. I don't know. You're saying is right. Unfortunately, it's just
Right.
not.
I hope we'll get there. I do find that, again, certainly in the modern Orthodox world, where we have rabbis like Rabbi Leibowitz, who like is encouraging premarital counseling for couples to start normalizing this. And not because the couple's engaged and they have problems, but because let's get a couple in contact with a therapist so that inevitably down the line, when your marriage hits a bump, because it will, all marriages do, even the best, most beautiful ones have hard knocks, you know, because life happens, unexpected tragedies, difficulties, finances, whatever, kids, it happens. Let's take away the stigma. You already sat in a therapist room. You saw how fine it is. Like, it was okay for you. And now you know that person. So if you have an issue, you can reach out. So we're going to start normalizing that for sure in this world. The more modern Orthodox world, the YU world. I'm hoping that will trickle down. Again, I've seen yeshivish and Hasidish people in my office, you know? So it's not like it doesn't exist. And again, I know that there are some people in the Hasidish world that like are very open about therapy and love it and talk about it. So I think it's individual, you know, more than community, let's say, but we definitely have our hurdles. We have a way to go. But I think that talking about it, normalizing it, showing the benefit of it, even, you know, that people are saying like, wow, you guys are doing so well. Like, what, you know, or your kid is doing great. Like, you know, a few years ago, he was really struggling. Yeah, I took him to a therapist and like, thank God.
Would you say that someone who goes through therapy as a teenager, pre-marriage, is more likely to have a better marriage and less likely to get divorced as opposed to someone who did not?
If they have a good therapist and they work on, and assuming those issues are addressed, meaning like if it's some kind of like family things, they work on communication skills, it's possible. I do want to say that just because someone's in therapy doesn't mean that they're actually doing work, right? So like I've heard people be like, oh, he's in therapy or she's in therapy. And it's like, well, all right, like what?
Right.
That doesn't mean anything. He
It's
walks in the room.
Just because someone goes to shul,
right,
doesn't
like,
mean they're
yeah,
dominating.
I went to the gym and I stared at the weights. Like that doesn't mean you're doing the work, right? Like, yeah, you went to shul. Like, so what? So being in therapy doesn't necessarily mean that any real work is being done. So definitely with a grain of salt. Like if someone's like, yeah, I go to therapy. Okay, but like, am I seeing that there's actual work being done here? That like you are working on yourself, and again, that you're going and not painting other people as the problem, but like wanting to know like, what work do I need to do? How did things in my life affect me? I'm not a victim anymore. I'm not blaming my parents for things. I'm not here to rail on them and be like, my mom was so mean. Even if your mom was so mean, let's talk about now, though, what does that mean for you in your life? We're not going to be harping on your mother anymore. We're going to be talking about like, what are we doing for you, for your life now and your relationships, that we heal that part, that we don't repeat those patterns. So I think people definitely, therapy is great. But again, like, what does that mean you're in therapy? Like, what work are you doing? And that's why I say, like, if you're dating someone that's in therapy, right, that they say, oh, you know, he has anxiety, but he's in therapy. Okay, great. I want to talk to him about like, what do you do in therapy? Well, like, what does your therapist work on? And where is the anxiety from? And like, how are you dealing with it? And like, we want to know that there's an actual like process of work going on there. Cause yeah, it's not, and there are therapists that like, you just go in the room and not much is happening.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to note that there are, just like there are bad doctors and there are bad teachers and there are bad therapists.
Yeah. Yes. Not all therapists are good. Some are downright dangerous. And that's why I say do your research also, like get referrals, ask your rabbi, ask your doctor, ask your friends. And that's why these conversations, being open, is actually good. Because if you say, oh, I sent my kid to this therapist, she was amazing for her. Or I went to this therapist, he was amazing. This is helpful for people.
The more we operate in darkness, the more scary it is.
Yes.
If you're hurt or find yourself in an accident, which let's be real, it happens more than we like it, you need the right lawyer on your side. That's when you call the Rothenberg Law Firm. For over 55 years, they've been a cornerstone in our community, helping people just like you. They've won and collected billions of dollars for their clients. And the best part, if they don't win, you don't pay. When you choose Rothenberg, you're not just getting a lawyer, you're getting a trusted friend who treats you like family. They understand that a personal injury can turn your life upside down. So they go well beyond just legal representation. They will make sure your medical bills are paid by the appropriate parties and that your family is taken care of during this rough time. Everybody knows Rothenberg, so you know they're the name you can trust. So if you ever find yourself needing legal help, remember to head to injurylawyer.com or call them 1-800-624-8888 for a free case evaluation. Make sure to keep the Rothenberg Law Firm on speed dial because not every injury lawyer has the resources to stand up to the big corporations and insurance companies. They've been fighting the good fight for over 5 decades and they are not slowing down. I hope you never need them, but if you do, the Rothenberg family is there for you.
We'll be right back to this episode. A quick word from my friends at townappliance.com. You head to the website right now, townappliance.com, and you can get $25 off. Simple. Just head to the website and you'll see a prompt come up. Simple as that. Let me tell you, friends, summer is coming to a close. You get a new clothing for your kids. You get a new appliances for your house. And that's where Town Appliance comes in. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Head to townappliance.com right now. Savings are happening all year. And you don't want to miss out. Townappliance.com. Ever since 1979, they've been the number one choice for everybody. And they understand you, the Frum community. So head to townappliance.com. Or you can shoot them a message on WhatsApp. How cool is that? Townappliance.com or shoot them a message on WhatsApp at the link in the show notes. Now back to this episode.
And I think like there's still big parts of our community that are operating in darkness when it comes to these things. And the needle has moved a lot. We've moved in a place from people not going to therapy to now going, but they're quiet about it. But I think a big part of it is so important that they talk about it. You know, I think Dr. Kiwi Perlman told me that when he opened up his practice, this clinic in Williamsburg, in the heart of the Hasidic community over there, he made one waiting room and he was told, no, you really should make separate ones because more people. He's like, no, if we're doing this, we're doing it the right way. People are going to come, and part of the therapy in a way is they're going to sit there and they're going to see other people are also there.
Yeah.
And that is fine.
Yeah.
That is fine.
I remember years ago, I struggled with infertility after I had my first. And I remember I was in a fertility clinic I was trying to have my second child. And I remember feeling, I was 20 something at the time. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed that I'm here. What if I see someone? What if I see someone? And then I remember checking myself and saying, if I see someone, they're here for the same reason. Right. We're in this together.
They're not coming to like drop off
right?
Uber
they're
Eats.
They're not like coming to see who's there, you know? So I was like, if I see someone.
They had to come in and take a notepad.
Right? Like, okay, Rachel Tuchman was there, guys. Okay. Rachel Tuchman was at the fertility clinic, guys. So I checked myself. I'm like, no, they're here for the same reason. So obviously when they come in, I'm not going to be like, hey, right? Because maybe they don't want that. Yeah. But I'm not going to feel ashamed. Like, you're here, I'm here, and I'm going to even have a manner about myself that like, I don't need to be ashamed and I don't want you to be either. Like, I'm here too, you know? And so that was like something that I really, like, if you're in this room, you're here for the same reasons, you know, or similar. There's some kind of fertility related reason that you're here, not just coming to say hi to the doctor for nothing, you know? So in a therapy room also, like, yes, if someone's waiting in the waiting room, they're also there for help. And again, I think we need to like destigmatize help. Like, I think that we've created this culture, and I don't think it's strictly Jewish. I do think maybe it's more pronounced because we do believe in, there's a perfectionist culture here. There's that we're like, have it together and our lives are perfect and great for shidduchim. So I think that definitely we maybe have more of it, but I think that we live in a world that's like, you should be able to handle everything yourself, like you got this. And if you don't, it's like, what's wrong with you? And I say like, we don't got this. Like, we have to learn how to do things. And there's some things we can't do. There's a reason we hire a plumber or we hire an electrician, or because if you do it yourself, you're going to electrocute yourself or your pipes are going to explode. Like, we have to understand, like, sometimes we need to hire a therapist because there's certain issues we just don't know how to navigate, And I always say, like, when you're in therapy, you can view it as, I'm in therapy because I have to deal with the people in my life that won't go to therapy. So maybe it's not a me thing. Maybe it's a them thing, Like, if I can never get my mother in the room because she'll never go to therapy, like, I'm going to go to therapy. If I can never get my sister-in-law in the room because she doesn't think she's a problem, I'm not talking about my mother or sister-in-law, then I'm going to go to learn how to deal with the people in my life that won't go to therapy, So I think even if we think about it that way, sometimes it helps. But I do think that, yes, there's a stigma. And I think that's a big part of why people don't get help for even more serious issues, like we were, like issues with food and body and their kids learning issues and even, let's say, dating. You're having a hard time dating and figuring out what you want, and so you're like, well, I'm not going to go to a therapist to figure out like why I can't, or why,
For some reason, there's like this. I think it's outdated in a way. I think like it's hopefully making its way out, but I think everyone has those friends in the friend group that everything's perfect and nothing's wrong ever and everything is amazing, and it's like, no, no, my daughter kept me up all night and my kid can't go on the bus and my wife can't go on the bus.
We know we're not talking about ourselves here. We know.
Yeah. Thank gosh. But I think like it's so outdated to do this whole perfect thing. It's almost like the 90s movies, like the Hello Lucy, like everything was perfect, everything is fine and everything. And if for those people who are still perpetuating that and like still trying to put up this perfect facade, you're doing such a disservice to your friends.
I think the reason people do that is, there's probably like a bunch of reasons. Number one, I don't think we need to walk around telling people our problems all the time, right? There's a line, right? Meaning, yes, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like either I have to trauma dump on you, or I could just be like, life is tough, life is rough. So I do think that for sure, again, kind of, I don't want to rail on social media because I don't think that's...
You could rail on social media.
Well, I don't think it's the only problem, meaning there's so much more than that, but I think it definitely does perpetuate like an issue. But yes, social media is about, let me show you the best moments.
Right.
But sometimes we have the opposite, even on social media, where people are like, oh, we don't want it to look perfect, so we're going to like show you our train wrecky life, or like our kids are screaming and then I'm going to complain about my husband or he's going to complain about me. And again, we don't have to do either. But I do think that, yes, I think it's important for us to remember, like each individual to remember, just like I know my life is not perfect and I have my issues, everybody has their issues. No one's life is perfect. And I guess like in my job, I guess in some ways, like I have a reminder every day that I work with people who, it could be that their lives look perfect, but I'm privy to the parts of it that aren't. So I don't think about that. Like I don't look at someone's life and think like, wow, like their life is perfect, it must be amazing. I know that everyone has struggles. And we always hear that now, like that thought, like if everybody took their problems and threw it into the middle of the room and labeled what their problems were, you would be like, no, thank you. I'll take mine right back.
He was
150%, 100,000,000%. Without a doubt, you would 1,000,000% take
even
your
at some
problems back.
point, literally their thing was like really bad. Like really, they'd take their own.
Yes, because even with your really bad, the person who maybe doesn't have your really bad has some other bad that you just would not want to deal with.
You don't feel equipped.
You wouldn't want to deal with it because, so you have that really bad, but maybe there's something else that you're not dealing with that you would feel like, oh my God, but I wouldn't know how to deal with that. So there really is a truth to that yes, you would just be like, you know what, my problems they're rough, they're bad. And like, I wish I wasn't dealing with this, but like, I do not want to deal with that. And I really fully believe that. I guess we'll never know because we're not all throwing our problems in a bag and throwing them in the middle of the room. But, it's hard. But I think people just need to remember, like, we don't need to ask people, like, what's going on in your life that stinks, But I think we do need to remember that even when things look perfect, like, there's always something going on underneath the surface. And it could be a complicated family relationship, something with their kids, finances, health, it could be a million things, something with their house, there's so much going on for people. And there's no such thing as like a unique problem also, meaning everybody has everything. So I think that we just really need to remember that everybody has their stuff and we just need to focus on our four walls. I say this a lot in therapy, like stop looking outside of your home. Stop looking at their marriage, their children, their house, their construction, their car. Stop looking. Because if you do, we make up in our heads, right? We make up in our heads what other people's lives look like. And then, yes, we're miserable. Well, she has a nicer house, or they have their kids don't have issues. But her mother is nicer. And her mother was a baby nurse and her mother-in-law is sweeter and their parents give them more money and they take them away on Pesach. And we could go from here to tomorrow, all the reasons that everybody else's life is better than ours. And I say, like, how does that serve you? What does that do for you? Is it helping you? Is it making you feel better? Like, yes, some people's lives are better than you and some people's lives are worse than you. And so what? please just keep your eyes on your four walls and work on what needs to be worked on. Pay attention to your family, to your kids, to your relationship, to your husband, to your parents, to whatever it is. Because again, it doesn't do any good to look at anyone else. It makes us feel worse. And that's why in a lot of ways, again, sometimes the culture on social media is look at me and look at my life and look at my kids and look at my stuff for Yom Tov and look at my table and and it's like, maybe we need to just stop looking. And if it doesn't make you feel good and you feel bad about yourself and you think their life is great, then unfollow, mute, log off, touch grass, we say, right? Like turn around and say like, you know what? I'm starting to feel bad about my life. Like I need to stop looking at this. It's not helping me. And I want more of that self-awareness.
That's a very like healthy level of self-awareness though that unfortunately I don't think, is super, super rampant. Is there something though that you think that influencers or even people like myself with a big platform could be doing that can either be better than what's happening, if you're talking to influencers at large, about how they use their platforms, that can like better serve the people who are looking based on you with your clients and you hear what they say? If you can speak to every single influencer in a room right now and just say, hey, I'm a therapist and I want to tell you this, what would you say?
I would say this is like for content creators and for consumers. Again, I think it falls equally on both of us. I think we just need to be very mindful about what we're doing and about how we're posting and about how we're scrolling and about what we're sharing. And I think that we need to think about, before I agree to work with this company or before I agree to post this thing, like, what am I doing here? And how do I think that's going to affect my community? And I think that if you're like a Jewish influencer, again, I know that maybe this is not the most practical or it seems too idealistic, but think about like you're working within your community and the things that you do and post are going to affect the community as a whole, which will then affect your families. So think about, is this something that I want to become like the norm here? Is this a culture that I want to push? Is this something that I think is like valuable? And again, I understand people need to make money and businesses need to make money. And so they need to promote their clothing for Yom Tov or their Shabbos, dishes or whatever it is. I understand that. But I do think that we are living in a culture of, certainly online, of excess and it's never enough. And you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this. And this is why we have people, again, goes back to that anxiety piece. I need more. I just bought this thing for Shabbos last week, but now there's this better thing. How many iPhones are we up to now, right? What's the one that just came out? What are we up to? 17, right? iPhone comes out with a new
When
iPhone.
does it get stupid? Like 20? Like that's when
but I feel like it will never, right? Everyone's so excited for the 17. It's crazy. And they know what they're doing, right? And then you're like, and then your phone slows down miraculously, right? You're like, this
I have a 14.
hunk of junk. Okay, wow, very good. Did it slow down yet?
I think
they slow it down.
So we're at perfect speed.
Yeah, they slow it down when they come out with a new one. But even thinking about that, how every 2 years there's like a new phone, bigger and better, bigger and better, bigger and better.
But you know what? I would not go as far as the Apple conversation as I would with the frum companies with the circles.
But I'm saying
the fro clothing stores that are.
But I'm saying, but they look at how profitable Apple is. They're saying, look, something new every 2 years. So they say, oh, we need to convince people that they need something new, always better. And again, we live in this culture that like we have this like attention issue that we get bored of things so quickly. And again, it's that algorithm and it's, that we're told like, that was already last year. Like you need something new now, every Yom Tov you need a whole new wardrobe. Every Yom Tov you need a brand new tablescape. And again, some people, if you want that, that's great and whatever, but I want people to think about, do I need this? And is that the message I'm getting? Is that true? Can I afford it? Like financially, is this a good idea? I know I'm being told that I need this. Can I do that? We have to be responsible. We have to think about these things. So I think, again, it's on both the consumer. Please be aware. And I'm hoping conversations like this, it's putting it on the map. Oh, I need to be mindful when I'm scrolling. I can't just like click, maybe put it in the cart and let it sit for a while. Don't buy it right away. If you put it in the cart.
Also like life hack, if you put it in your cart and then you leave it, they're going to email you like, a few hours later, probably with the discount code because you left it in your cart, just saying.
Yes. But also it's going to keep coming up in like your ads and
so
Google.
If I by mistake go on Uber Eats, just so like by mistake click on Uber Eats instead of like Instagram, I'll get like 10 minutes later. So you're hungry? what? Like, give it to him.
Right.
Like, what do you know? Like,
yes. These algorithms know, they know how to push it. And it used to be, by the way, that we would say, put in your cart, and if you're still thinking about it, buy it. So now they're like, oh, we want to make sure they keep thinking about it. Yeah.
It's important for consumers to know, though, that brands do not, and I don't know if they should even, they're there to make money. They're there to do business. Even Jewish companies.
Yes.
They don't have your best interest in mind. So we can't blame the brands. They're there to make money. As a consumer, you need to know that this whole, like, you need to buy new clothing for every season for your child who's 2.5 that's growing by the day.
Right.
Maybe you don't. Like, maybe hand-me-downs are fine if you had a 2-year-old 2 years ago. Maybe you don't need to buy everything brand new. The brands are going to push it. They're going to try to get, platforms to make it seem a way. They're going to get influencers to make it seem that way. But again, the grassroots, it always comes down to the grassroots. It's up to the people who are listening to this, I feel, to say, hey, we don't need this. And this is, the buck stops here. It stops at us. These things only have power if we give it power.
Yes.
That's it.
Right. And yeah, listen, I believe companies are allowed to make money and consumers are allowed to say, yeah, okay, but that's not where I'm going to put my money. So I do think definitely, like I said, we have to be aware. Do I have to? And again, I know it's hard. Like when I talk about this, people will say, yeah, but what about, if I talk about like, you don't need to buy your kid that $250 sweatshirt. They're like, yeah, but all their friends have it. Like,
what do you say to a mother that plays that, where it's just like constantly trying to make sure their child has what everyone else has?
Right. So, so I see it's not just mothers, it's fathers too. But what I would say is, again, this kind of even goes back to what we were saying before. If we're always buying our kids things because everyone has it and we want them to feel a part of something, I would say, what's going on underneath that? Did you not feel a part of things when you were a kid? Did you grow up that you couldn't have certain things? Did you grow up thinking you had to have certain things to be part of something? If we're teaching our kids that you have to have a certain logo to be included, to be keeping up with the cool kids and whatever, then again, we're teaching our kids that their worth is very exterior based and it's based on what you have. And that's what's important. It's how you look. And instead of teaching that friendships are so much more than that, it literally doesn't matter what you're wearing. If you have that brand or that brand, it's irrelevant, right? So I think that we need to, I wish it were easier for parents. And again, I'm not going to say like, just don't buy it for your kid. I understand I'm a mom of teenagers. I totally understand
What would you say
the pressure.
What would you say to your kids?
So to my kids, I would probably say it could be a gift from a grandparent. It could be a gift for some kind of special occasion if it were in the budget. Or I would just say like, I get that that's like what everyone's wearing and it's cool, but either we could split, right? We could also find like a middle grounds of like, you pay half and I'll pay half. And again, it's not even about like it's a financial meaning. I wouldn't want to tell my kids, I wouldn't say to them, I can't afford it.
Right.
I don't
know anything.
It's saying, so it's, for me, it's not even a money thing. It's on principle. So I would say either it's a gift that somebody can give to you, hey, go ask Bubby and Zaida, right? Ask them. Or it could be like I said, a special occasion type of thing. Like I'm not just plunking down $300 on a sweater for you because it's like Tuesday. It's not happening.
Or if you don't want them to have it. Like,
so that if it's a value system, then I would say like, I get it. But like when you're this age, let's say you're 14, like I'm not comfortable with that, and I would have to sit with the discomfort of my kid feeling unhappy with me. And I think a lot of parents don't want that. I don't want my kid to be mad at me. I don't want them to say you're so mean. I don't want them to be like, when everybody has it. And that's why they have a phone at, in 6th grade or whatever. We have to say no to our kids. And I think a big problem is that parents don't want to say no to their kids. They're afraid. And so thankfully, for the most part, I'm more afraid of my 9-year-old, honestly, than my older ones. I'm not afraid to say no. And again, it doesn't mean that I don't compromise. Like I said, if you want to go halvesies, you want to buy it yourself, I'm not going to stop you. If you're, 19 and you want to buy that thing, I can't tell you what to do anymore. But I think that we definitely need to learn to say no. No, you can't have social media. No, you can't have a phone. No, or here's the parameters for what I'm going to allow. And I think that parents, again, if we saw the tie between saying yes to a lot of these things and a lot of the mental health issues that are occurring in our communities now, I think it would be easier for parents to realize, like, if I say yes to this, I'm actually not doing anything good for them. I'm actually creating a bigger problem.
And you see the tie?
Yeah, 100%.
So you're telling them that.
Yeah, I'm not saying like if you get that sweatshirt, I'm not going to say any labels here, like then they're going to be in my office in 5 years. But I am saying like, sometimes
it's just probably cheaper.
Probably. But the benefits of the therapy are much longer term. But I think that sometimes we have to say like, my kid is coming to me and asking for this thing. And like, what's going to happen if I say yes? Like, and why am I wanting to say yes? And what am I afraid of if I say no? Am I afraid that they're going to be like the loser with no friends? And then if that's the case, like there's, again, probably a deeper issue that if my kid is a loser with no friends, I don't think kids are losers with no friends. But if that's how I see it, then slapping that sweatshirt on them just means they're a loser with no friends with the fancy sweatshirt now. It didn't change the reality. And by the way, that's how the kids see them. Oh, you're trying to be cool. So it's not fixing it. So I think we need to be looking at, like, again, what am I trying to solve by covering it up with the sweatshirt, with the fancy thing, with the diet, with the, what am I trying to fix in a way that's very surface, not very meaningful, and maybe an avoidance.
Yeah, it all comes down to what's going on under the hood.
Yeah. And I don't want to deal with it. So it's easier for me just to do that quick fix. Just get the sweatshirt. Like, stop. I don't want to hear the whining. Just give her the phone. Just give her the phone. If she wants Instagram, give her Instagram. I have to think about this. No, we have to have certain fights. And again, I think some parents just don't want to do it. And I understand it. It's hard, especially if you have a bunch of kids. If you're busy, you don't want to be fighting with your kids. But again, at the end of the day, like that short-term gain of like, I don't want to deal with it, is to their long-term detriment. So we have to think about now. And the years are short with our kids, you know, the days are long, but the years are short. And we have this like limited amount of time to make sure that we instill the right values in them and that we do it in the right way, right? Meaning we're not gonna be like, you can't have a sweatshirt, knock it off. It could be a respectful discussion, you know, that's not, we don't want to spend our money on those kinds of things. I know that everybody has it, but that's not like in our family, those aren't the kind of values. I'm happy to like get you clothes, but like we don't do the, you know, $300 or whatever it is. And I think just having respectful conversations, validating our kids too, understanding when they're like, but everyone has it. I hear you. That's tough. I know. I understand. And I know that you're probably not happy with me, right? We're not being callous or like tough nugs. Like that's how it is, you know? So I think those conversations have to be carried out sensitively so that your relationship stays intact, because relationship is really the key here. Like our kids can handle disappointment when they feel more connected to us. And then they believe that even though I'm not happy with you, I know it's in my best interest. And I know eventually when I'm an adult, I'm going to understand why you made that decision. So maybe right now, I think you're the meanest and the worst, but eventually we hope with a lot of davening and a lot of, you know, work that they're going to turn around one day and be like, you know what? I remember at the time, like I thought you were so mean, but like, I totally understand why you did that now. And like, I thank you and I'm grateful for it. And, or maybe they never say it, but they think it, you know, but I think we just need to learn to hold stronger boundaries with our kids and understand that it's for their benefit. You know, it's hard. It's hard. Parents don't want to do it. And I hear you. I'm with you. I don't always say no when I should, but I try. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. I feel like we hit the tip of the iceberg on some of this stuff, but like maybe going to the food thing, to think about it and talk about it, or not talking about it. How about don't talk about it?
Just don't talk about it. Yeah. Just
hey, hear that episode of Being with People? Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Yeah, let's not. Let's just enjoy our Yom Tov and enjoy our family and not talk about food. And even if we want to take a walk after because we feel disgusting at the table, we don't tie it to just say, I'm going to go take a walk. It's beautiful. Who wants to come with? Don't tie it to
also
any of that.
Also enjoy it though. Like when you're eating, enjoy it.
Yeah, just enjoy and not stressing about it and yeah, not making it a big deal.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Before we get to the outro of this episode, I'll tell you that you can enter the Dream Raffle right now. Yes, the Dream Raffle is back. You can win a $1.2 million apartment in the heart of Yerushalayim. I soon will be in Yerushalayim, and I'm going to check out this apartment and tell you guys with my own eyes how legit it is. But there have been winners the past several years who won an actual apartment, or you could take the cash prize, $600,000. Can you use that in your life right now? Enter the Dream Raffle right now at thedreamraffle.com. But make sure to use promo code MPP. You get $10 off. Plus, you could double the amount of tickets you get, okay? So if you buy 2 tickets, you'll get 4 tickets and $10 off that. And if you enter before November 17th, you'll be entered in a raffle to win $15,000. $15,000 if you enter before November 17th. So right now, head to thedreamraffle.com and get the link in the show notes of this episode. Buy your tickets. Use promo code MPP. Save some money, get more tickets, and a $1.2 million apartment in the heart of Yerushalayim can be yours. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this episode, a really important one. Send it to your mom, send it to your grandma, send it to your friends. They're always talking about food and how food is this, food is that. It's time we change the way we talk about food, people. Doesn't have to make you feel that way. Thank you to Rachel Tuchman for coming on this show. We spoke about a lot of different topics, but that was one that stuck with me. Thank you so much. If you want to hear more from conversations like this and others, plus content. Make sure to join Meaningful Minute Plus today. That is mmplus.org. We have thousands of people who have already joined us there, and they are enjoying extra hours, tens of hours of content. Stories of Hope Plus, Meaningful People Plus, live streams every single week, the 2 Cents Podcast just for Plus members. Join right now and help support the mission of what we're doing, of spreading meaningful content across the world to millions of people each month. Our Plus members are our pillars. They are our pioneers, are the people that keep us going. So become a Plus member right now at mmplus.org. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment down below if you enjoyed it, and I will see you, Mirta Shem, next week.